The city of Tomball, even if you live in North Point and you have a Tomball address, that is not in the city limits of Tomball. The city limits of Tomball is 13.45 square miles. Our ETJ is 21 miles. Tomball address is much larger than that, and it is our school district line, which is about, Dr. Z, about 83 square miles now?
Exactly.
Okay. So we look at it all as Tomball. But what we're going to be talking about today, the city government, is the 13.45 square miles. And the reason I want you to remember that is that that is our town. And controlled growth and things that we have in there should be, I don't want to say stingy with our land, but we need to be conscious of what our residents and businesses want in the city limits of Tomball, because we're talking about 13.45 square miles, not 85 square miles. So I wanted to, that statistic. In that 13.45 square miles, we have 12,341 people. Expected to grow by 2,000 people within the next 2 years. 3 to 5 years. That's why I brought him. He's got the stats. Walking computer. So, our city staff is 230. Median household income inside the city limits is 65,000. Texas is 66,000. Our ancestry is German. As you know, we're getting ready to have our great German festival in a few weeks. And our population, which may surprise a lot of people, when I was growing up, it was older. And now, with all the wonderful families and children that have moved in, and people who have been attracted to Tomball and out of Bel Air and out of the Heights to raise their family, our 65 and older is only 20% now. The Texas 65 is 13%, but only 20% of the people are 65 and older. Our average median age in the city limits of Tomball is 36. Is 36 years old now. So yes, when you hear the music changing from the Goldie Oldies of the 50s, that's why. Our next item, we wanted to talk about highlights. It's some of the main highlights that have gone on. The first is 2920 Main Street. We had our first meeting on this last March, another one in December. And what was presented was 3 proposals that had been blessed by TxDOT as meeting their safety requirements. They are happy with all 3 proposals. We asked citizens and businesses to vote, the public to vote, which one did they like. All medians on Main Street, no medians on Main Street, partial medians, some one-way streets, and it was alternate 2 that was chosen when the citizens came here and looked and talked, and all 3, and also online vote. So what happens now? Okay, the one was alternative 2, which means it would be pedestrian crossing medians at the railroad tracks. Only at the railroad tracks, not on our Main Street. There will not be any other medians. There'll be some little jut outs. The word is, jut out is not an official TxDOT term. Little jut outs. And we would have one-way roads. It'll be a different traffic pattern on downtown, but that opens up to more parking places. So what happens now? Now City Council formally takes the vote. They vote on one of the 3. They have heard what the citizens want, what the businesses want, the online vote, the talking here at the meeting, and they will officially, it'll be a council agenda item, and they will choose of the 3 which one goes through. Now, since the second one has been voted on and talked about, talk to your councilman if that is the one that you would like to have, and once council votes on that, then it is an advanced funding agreement signed by TxDOT. The design is done by the engineers. Part of this design is the green trees, and as you can see on that one, there were trees all the way up and down Main Street. There might be different ones because of the root system, but going into a contract to have larger trees put back That is part of it too. And sidewalks. You know, our sidewalks are kind of a hazard. And you can't really get they're not handicap accessibles except if you cross the roads. We have nice handicap accessible, but a lot of the sidewalks, because of the routes, will be maintained and changed up and down Main Street. And then currently, the construction is in 2025. That is when TxDOT would start it. They will have 2 official hearings here in the town, according to their schedule, so that is our road. It's going on, it's progressing. And it's progressing according to what the citizens wanted at that time. So, great. Next item, downtown alleyway projects. This is a project where we are trying to utilize all of our alleys in Old Town. The first block is the 100 block, and we are already will be going for bid in March. The design has been done on the first block of 100, but the first thing that's going to be built is the bathrooms. So we will have bathrooms going up across from Cherry Street Antiques next to Cisco on that property that is right there for that area of town. And we want to thank all the businesses who have been gracious letting people line up in your restrooms and you didn't have to on that time of town, but thank you. So we're going to be putting in the bathrooms. I think that's the first thing that we've got bidding in, so March 1st that will happen. This is kind of what the alleyway gateways will look like. It will have patterned concrete. It will be a nice addition in consciousness with our businesses on Main, plus pedestrian traffic. So this is the concrete pavements, power poles, dumpster pads, sidewalks, entryways, lighting, banners, landscape furnishing, all under design and evaluation, and it starts this year. Jump in anytime.
Okay.
Even if my statistic was wrong, don't correct it.
So far, you're doing great. Just keep going.
You know, we already have our chief that graduated from the California Comedy Clubs. So. The other item is First Baptist Church site. That is officially being purchased. And it's very exciting. Several ways. It's a wonderful site downtown. It's closed on 4/12/2023. That has been kind of a Economic Development Corporation project. And it came before council. Council approved the purchase. And so this has been purchased now. It is rented back to the Baptist Church for us to have feasibility studies as to what we're going to do with the facility, what is it that we need to do, and there's a whole plan for that. Plus, we do have access, though, immediately to the parking lots. So the Baptist Church parking lots will become available this year for our downtown events and to get more parking down there. Through there. But it's a great site. It's close to our museum. It gives the Baptist Church time for them to build their facility. So it's a win-win for everyone. And we're very excited about that project. Any other things?
No, the only thing that I would add is that there's just tremendous amount of opportunity with, especially the location of this property. And so when you talk to the TEDC about some of the opportunities that this does present to us and is really enhancing downtown, and especially that's the draw about what is Tomball, and we'll get to other slides about what our goals are. I think this absolutely hits one of those marks about making sure that downtown does not go away. What can we do to make sure that our downtown is vibrant and continues to grow and be as it has been? And so this is an extremely important project with that. I can tell you that the council is considering and looking at possible portions of it to be utilized for city facilities. Part of the things that we are looking at, and some of the things that I'll get into about some of the challenges that we face, is that we do have aging facilities. We're outgrowing some of these facilities, and so we're looking at where can we best place these and things like that. This absolutely gives us an opportunity to locate some of those things, stay within the downtown like it always has been. So there's just tremendous amount of things that we can do with this property, and I think it's just a huge win for Tomball.
These are some of the other current highlights. New construction and development on 11th Industry, which is where Macy's is going in and having some of their online and their inventory. That's at Red Parkway and 249. They hope to open in March? No.
So Macy's distribution, we're set to try to deliver that project by mid-March is when they're gonna start their moving stuff in and really getting the warehouse set up. I'll tell you, this project has been one of those that it's a huge, I mean, 240 acres and with 3 million square feet of industrial, commercial, and retail space. But the time frame that they had to deliver this project was absolutely really, really tight. And so in working with Love and Industrial on how they deliver these things, it was not our typical process that we do as you go public infrastructure and then you move on before you go to vertical. We had to kind of do a lot of those things parallel. So it's definitely been a learning experience for the city, and we welcome that because then we learned quite a bit about how to deliver projects and developments like these in these short timeframes. But yes, so you'll start seeing trucks coming in to the Macy's distribution to set up by mid-March.
The other is Costco. Costco is going on Holdreth and 249 in the city limits. The review plans are 90% complete. And so they hope to break ground next year.
It's a lot sooner.
Not sooner than, okay. Hopefully by the end of the year, then they will be breaking ground, and we will have a Costco in our city. We're excited about that. The other item is our school district is building a state-of-the-art facility on Kiefer Road. It's going to be the pre-K. So we're excited about that growth in the city on our
I
street.
can tell you just a report, the permit is almost ready to be issued. So I know that we're really close.
I just asked.
Do you feel the stares from Jim?
Thank you for that.
We're happy to be working with Jim Ross on that project for the school. So, the other is the food court. There's a food court facility that is coming at Huffsmith, Corville, and Medical Complex Drive on some property that people have, they're pretty close to getting that open, aren't they?
It is very, very, it's gonna have a lot of outdoor type of seating and venue, and so it is a really neat development.
A lot of things for children, too. Families. Concordia School, they're putting in expansion, new gym, new fine arts. Yay, is anyone here from Concordia? Our kids graduated from Concordia and were involved in fine arts, and everything was in the cafeteria. They called it the Slapacapatoria, because the kids had practiced, they ate there, they had choir, band, and fine arts performances, all in the cafeteria. So we're very happy about that progress with Concordia's new expansion there. And they're also helping with a lot of their athletics and gym. The other is the Matheson School construction, our park construction, our new playground, splash pad, pickleball courts. And that is going along on the joint effort. It was a joint effort between the city, GDC, our local government, and federal grant, our state grant.
Hospital Foundation.
And the Hospital Foundation. Yes, thank you, all of our great partners that have helped this to happen for the good of our city and our families. Matheson Park construction, I think we have some pictures of that too. The other is the Jurgens Park improvements. Louis All-Inclusive Handicap Program. It's a playground for handicap, inclusive playground there called Louis Playground, and that is at Jurgens Park, and that will be going up too. Residential construction is continuing to be strong. We have a lot of developers that want to come into the city. Because of the square mileage, council has been very good about looking at whether this is the development that fits in the city at this time. I think council has turned down 3 residential developments at this time because we need to make sure it's the right thing for our city and that it fits with our infrastructure. We will not overbuild our infrastructure. It's controlled growth. So looking at the residential construction that's coming in that has already been approved, that is where the growth will be coming from.
So just real quick on these projects, and we wanted to share some of the pictures of the, on the parks, for sure. Louis' all-inclusive playground is definitely going to be a huge amenity for the community. As the name states, it is an all-inclusive playground. It has all sensory type of things, and all type of, kids can definitely enjoy the playground. So it is themed after Louis. Louis is a wonderful little kid that loves everything construction. So the theme of this park is going to be construction equipment. And so we actually had him out to Public Works and put him on the skid steer and backhoe and stuff like that. And so he absolutely loved it. There is an active campaign to raise the funds to complete the project, but I can report we're well on our schedule to raise the funds that are needed for the park. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. On the Matheson Park improvements, that's quite a big renovation that we're doing out there. If you remember the old tire park, the timber playground, that is now gone. We're starting to install all of the new playground equipment. Hopefully, we're trying to get everything done by the start of summer when school lets out. So we try to schedule that while school is still in session, but as you can see there's gonna be a picture of a above feature splash pad with a lot more pickleball courts. Pickleball has been an absolute big thing that is definitely growing. And so we wanted to include that and then do obviously a new and upgraded facilities for our playground equipment.
And it's okay, you do not have to be a child to play in the splash pad. It's okay, so Raymond, remember that.
So maybe I can jump real quick on this slide here. And so the reason why I wanted to include this one, because these are all funded studies that we're currently doing right now. And you'll see that we'll go out and advertise to get public participation. We're gonna try to formulate some committees, some special committees to really look at different pieces. It's important for this community to be absolutely up to date with a lot of these things, because as we move forward and prioritize the projects that need to be done and completed, based on the timeline that we're seeing, it's important for a city that's growing that we make sure that we keep up with a lot of those things. And I want you to keep this in your back of your mind, because once we get to another slide that I have, the other slide really just outlines projects that have been identified in a master plan process, that we're doing one for each one of these areas, and then derives with the capital improvements that are needed to do that. And so one of the challenges that we face, and we'll talk about the challenge here in a minute, that how do we fund those things?
Right. This is part of our infrastructure. And in any city government, you need to be thinking 20 to 30 years down the road. And so we may have to say no to some things that people aren't happy about, but that is being fiscally conservative and also making sure that our infrastructure, people want to be able to flush their commodes, have good water, and drive on good streets. We don't want the congestion. We already have congestion because of our growth. So we're not slowing down growth. We are just being very careful that we do not approve something that we don't have the infrastructure and the roads to support. So that's why we are having the studies and getting special committees, and there's several that you can get involved into. So it's the use of that. Funding, we are fiscally conservative. We have a great financial balance sheet. Surprise, surprise. We've had for a long time now. And we have a AA+ bond rating. That is one below the best bond rating you can get. And that is important, because if we need to go out for bond to pay for a lot of the capital improvements we need for the next 20 to 30 years of this city, we are paying it at next to the lowest interest rate that you can get. The higher your bond rating, the cheaper your money is. So that's why it's very important for us to be fiscally conservative in the city, and we are. We're in great shape. We're in great shape.
And so, the other slide, we have a bunch of planning documents, a lot of things to get master plans, but absolutely want to make sure that you understand that we are still continuing to implement those things. It's not just a planning year, there's a lot of things that we're actually trying to get done. So these things here are just a short list of some of the things that we're trying to tackle this fiscal year that was approved by council in our latest budget. And some of these that we're highlighting here is the easement for Tuggy Road. So that one is not even in the city limits. However, but if we strategically get utilities out there, we've got a water plant on 2920, and we also have the development where it's Lovett Industrial that's going in on 99 and 249. We need to really connect those together to have a reliable water system, and so we need that looping effect there. What that also does, though, it does open up the corridor of Telge Road and further to the west of Tomball, that as development grows, because we do get a lot of inquiries with the developers and wanting to build out there, but they need utilities. So this definitely will give us not only the connection that we need to enforce, make sure that our distribution system is very resilient and can meet the demands, but it also opens up additional territory if the development makes sense for us to bring it. So it's a two-part there. You'll see there that we are constantly, because of our growth, have to look at and make sure that we are keeping up with our water supply. And so we are adding a new water plant there, which basically is a ground water well with a storage tank and booster pumps to be able to pump it into the system. And so that, just one phase of it is about $5 million. Totally, to put in a municipal well, you're looking at about $16 to $19 million. Sewage collection expansion, or a lot of growth to the west, is happening. And so we've got to do some upgrades for that collection there. Currently in the budget, there's about $10.5 million for that. We're getting ready to expand our wastewater treatment plant. That's the first phase. And again, we've got projects trying to keep up with just technology. Our water and sewer our water and gas meters we do have a plan to get those updated to where they're fixed base. We can read them from the office. What that does, it gives us the ability to, as a customer, you can get on your account and you can see your usage. It's gonna give us also some good reporting that we can see some triggers there that we can then call you and say, you may have a water leak, or your toilet bowl is running, so you don't incur all of those costs that we usually get calls and say, like, I didn't use that water. We're trying to be, and it goes great for conservation of our water system. And again, with the new development, we've got to continue to have that storage capacity, and so at the Lovett site, you will start seeing a elevated storage tank being constructed. And so that's all in the current budget now.
Okay. Challenges. Why don't you briefly go through some of the challenges, and then I will sum up, because we could talk for hours. I know that it's getting close to 1 o'clock, and so we're going to be mindful of your time. So if you would sum up some of the different challenges that we face.
So absolutely, the challenges, just like you see in your own businesses and just day-to-day life, that we see them too. And so we wanted to put up some of those, and inflation is absolutely on the forefront, especially when you're trying to look at the master plans and you get the capital projects list out there, and then you start putting the dollar amounts that go with those different projects. It does become a daunting task about how do we get to fund that, remaining physically conservative, but also minimizing the impact on the taxpayer and the ratepayer when we're talking about the utilities. So some of the examples that we're seeing right now is absolutely just our regular vehicles. As you can see there, we've got about 16 to 18% increases. Service contracts, some of those things that we utilize in public works, we're looking at almost 30% increases in some of those. One of the interesting things is that traditionally, we look or try to do annual contracts for a lot of these things. A lot of the vendors are not honoring an annual contract. They definitely will enter in an annual contract with you, but we're gonna see increases much higher than what we're seeing here, because the market is changing so rapidly that they've got to make sure they factor in that cost. So we've kind of adjusted on how we do our normal day-to-day business, and we're looking at short-term contracts to be able to make sure that we're getting the best pricing that's available at the time. This is the slide that I wanted to show you guys, and you'll see on that very far corner that this is only pertaining to water and wastewater. And you'll see a lot of the projects that were identified in those master plans. A lot of those don't have to be done absolutely today, but they are in the very near future. And especially if growth continues to grow at a very rapid rate, you'll see the dollar amount there at the very corner. For a city our size, that is a very large number. Then you start factoring all the other things that we need to do. We still haven't put up the drainage capital improvements that we gotta have up there. The good things that people come here for is our amenities, and so there's the parks and trails master plan that we wanna do. Our facilities that we talked about, all of those start truly adding up. And so we as staff have to absolutely look at that, make sure council's understanding where we're at, making sure that we are on task with our goals and what they envision, how we need to continue. And so we need to put together a financing plan that is over a course of a period of time. We can't all do it all at once. And so we do factor in the impacts to you, the taxpayer. Personnel is definitely has been a challenge for us. Currently, right now, we carry about 10 to 12% vacancy rate in our workforce. We traditionally, or in the past, have looked at it and it's been around 6%, 6 to 5%. And so we definitely see that. To try to combat some of those things, we're currently reviewing RFPs for a class and comp study to make sure that we're competitive in the group. It's one of those things that we absolutely want to provide whatever we possibly can for our employees, but we must stay vigilant that we're in the market and that how it needs to be. The other thing is that we've looked at is that our normal way of looking or operating our business can't stay the same. We had now I'll give you an example more on the skilled labor, and so we had a engineer review position open. We couldn't fill it. Absolutely, the wages that engineers are demanding right now is absolutely huge. And so what we did is we converted that into a part-time remote. We got flooded with applications with quality, experienced engineers wanting to just either supplement, or they had decided to just change their makeup and they were gonna work part-time. And so that has absolutely worked great, and so we're including that in our class and comp study to see what other areas can we do to make sure that we are not missing out on those opportunities. So this gives you a little bit of an idea about how we're made up at the city with personnel-wise, and you can see we always break out the big three because those are the big departments in our budget. Is going to be PD, Fire, and Public Works. As you would guess, the two public safety departments are heavily in personnel. And then when you look at Public Works, we have a lot of those capital projects in there, and that's why you'll see that difference in there. But when we're talking about vacancies, those are the areas that really does affect us. And so if you haven't heard, yes, the city was a victim of a ransomware attack. And I'll tell you that if there's ever gonna be a tabletop about of an incident that's really gonna take all your systems down, this absolutely was. We lived through it, and we can tell you all the horror stories so that way you can go back and make sure you don't fall victim to this, but we are still continuing to try to come back from it. Extremely proud of the staff, because one of the first things that we did, so on December 19th is when we got hit and all our systems started to go down. That day, we got together and tried to figure out the extent of what this effect had on us, and it really touched every single operation that we had. Aside from the stuff that at Public Works, out in the field and things like that, obviously that didn't really affect it, but it did in a way of getting work orders out there and things like that. But to go to the staff and say, staff, we need to figure out workarounds. If it means putting paper and pencil together, that's what that means. And they absolutely did that. We tried, our main focus was to minimize the outward appearance that there was something going on. And so operations continued, PD continued to work. They worked with our partners at Harris County to run people when they pull them over. And so you name it, the staff absolutely worked worked through that scenario. We're still going through that. If you have a utility bill inside the city limits, you haven't gotten one. And so we are still working, and it's one of those things that while we have the information, we brought stuff back, we've got to bring it back in different process intervals. If not, you get hit with all of the consumption that you have in your bill would be absolutely astronomical. And so we're trying to be thoughtful and bring back things in a specific time. We're hoping and projecting that we'll back be to a normal schedule on utility bills by about April or May. And so you can see, this absolutely was a huge challenge for us. Lots of lessons learned coming from this.
And any city and any business can be hit. They hit major cities and our county and our capital. And Tomball. They found us, Tomball. So I was a little surprised at that, but a good negotiation, Homeland Security, FBI, threat terrorists in the city, negotiating all that. And so we were, because we are so financially sound, we were able to retrieve all our data. And we did not pay them what all they asked for. We did not. It got to the point that it would have cost more to ramp up and redo everything in the amount that was negotiated. So it was a good thing. And I'm so proud of everybody for how the city has reacted and worked together, and there was no loss of the services, and nothing of our citizens, our employees, no financial leakage data. That had all been secured months, and that had been secured a long time ago. So there was not an attack about anything that had to do with our citizens' financial data, when we paid the bill, or credit card, or any of our employees. So I'm very proud of the city. It worked out well.
So to close up on some of these things, and you can see there's the challenges and no different than anybody else goes through. And so those things we absolutely have to go and have to deal with and work through. And so that's the organized slide, and that really translates to this, to where one thing happens and it really does affect other things. And so it's a constant working at it and trying to get things still moving forward. And especially in a community that's growing like we are, it's even more important to keep up with it.
So what are our goals and our outlook? As you can tell, we are committed to maintaining our small town feel with big city conveniences all around us. Tomball has its own sense of community and character, and no one stands alone. No one stands alone here. We have a strong community partners and leadership in our town. Some great ideas have come from our citizens. Jana, history is big to the town, and our Harris County Library and our school, our college, has partnered together to help preserve our history. They have meetings every Monday. They have they're doing a history book, and we hope to expand that, and they're digitizing the history of Tomball, so we don't lose that. If any of you, they would still like volunteers, so call for any volunteers, and also if you have some great old pictures, please reach out so we can preserve those. They have some great equipment and hope to get more and expand. But that is how we are having partnership with our great community leaders and our businesses and nonprofits here. Also, we have our parks. Our first meeting for it is parks and walkways, and the official name of it is, okay, you can't remember either, but it's about our parks. It's our parks, it's our walkway, it's our trees, it's our legacy. If you are interested in that, our first meeting is Tuesday. The public is open, it's open to the public, so please come, listen, come up with your ideas, because we are starting that process to see what the residents and the businesses and the want here in Tomball, in our 13 square miles. So that first meeting on that group that has been established, and we're open to the public, please come on Tuesday. It's going to be at City Hall or Community Center?
We'll post it.
Okay,
So
it's
I don't get
posted.
it wrong.
And on our website, we are back on our website, so please go there for any information. And look there and see. Plus, we are on Facebook. We have Tomball Texan for Fun. We have, the Chamber has a wonderful outreach on there. So that is where you can find information. If not, call City Hall. The other, we also had another good idea from a citizen who came to council, and it's about doing a community-wide effort to tidy up Tomball. I know that she is going to be meeting with Public Works to try to coordinate that. But that is a great idea, and what we want to see, what do the people want? And before City Council, we have our City Council meetings, and we ask that anyone can get up and speak about 3 minutes about anything. Council can engage, but if there's any idea or any concern that you have, please come to City Council meetings. Say, sign up with the City Secretary, or even if you don't, I always ask, is there anyone here who didn't sign up who wants to speak? You've got 3 minutes, come on up. Give your name, give your address, and come to City Council and speak about any issue that you would like more information on, or anything that you would like to say. So that City Council serves you. I serve you. City staff serves what council and the mayor has talked about. So we have a wonderful leadership in our city staff and in our city. So we're going to be managing growth responsibly. We want to maintain our small town feel. We want to still maintain our fiscal responsibility in light of the inflation and the cost of the projects that we have. What is the best way to pay for that and make it happen without being a burden, much of a burden on the citizens that live here. And we have a strong sense of community, but we also, we have great partnerships and leadership in our town. Great nonprofits, our school, our college, our chamber, our hospital, our EMS. We have wonderful partnerships, and we all work together. No one stands alone. Now, yes, there may be debate, discussion, and even disagreement. But in the end, this leads to innovation, new ideas, and stronger bonds. And I wish I could take, when we were talking in a meeting the other day, that came from David, our city manager. And I was so proud of the way that this progressed, that even though we may not all agree on everything, we are here together. And we are dedicated to keeping strong bonds with all of the organizations that are in our city. Because it is that all of us together, and the residents, the businesses, the people who come and shop, even if they don't live in our city limits, that is Tomball. And it is all of us that makes Tomball what it is today, and what it will be. So, we thank you. We thank you very much for allowing us to be here, and please reach out to us. We are all in this together. Thank you.